Fred Barstein with 401k TV here with Joe Burt, who is the president of NIPA, and we're at the national conference here in Las Vegas. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you.
Joe is the president of Pension Plan Specialists, about 3,000 clients, along with being the president of NIPA, and does a lot of speaking and coaching, working with organization members of Congress and GAO. Okay, if we ask you a few questions.
Absolutely.
So one of the confusions that plan sponsors have is the different service models, right? And so the two most popular service models are called bundled and unbundled. So can you explain the difference?
Sure, absolutely. It's a common question we get. So the two models, again, being bundled and unbundled. Bundled means that the record keeper or the custodian, the person who's holding the investment company holding the assets, is also acting as an administrator of the plan. So they're doing things like the Form 5500 and compliance testing, administration, those types of things.
In-house.
That's right. So it's all in-house. And then you have an unbundled model, which would be someone is an independent third set of eyes, like a third-party administrator like myself, who works autonomously. We work directly for the plan sponsor.
Locally,
yeah, for the most part. There are some national TPAs as well.
But it's mostly local.
But most often.
So in what we find, Joe, is in the smaller market, under 10, there are more unbundled than bundled, and then once you get to larger plans, that shifts.
Yeah.
So why is it that, first question, why is it that smaller plans really gravitate to the unbundled?
You know, it's a question we often get within the industry, is what dictates that? Where's that line in the sand, right? And I would say that typically the smaller plans, the ones that are under 10 million, they don't have a dedicated HR staff, or maybe they don't have a comptroller or a CFO who's there to sort of guide through the process, or maybe has experience in retirement plans. So oftentimes it's the smaller companies that just really need somebody like us to step in and to help them with all of those components.
And also maybe the record keepers in small market don't have the time or the money to customize.
That's right, and that's a very important point, because there are record keepers out there who will say, sure, we can be bundled, we can do all of that, but there's certain provisions within your plan that we will not administer. Maybe a cross-tested plan. So if your profit sharing is a little bit different, you're doing tiers, most of them don't like to do that.
And it makes sense. In order to make money, you have to have
efficiencies of scale, right?
So then, turn it around. Why do larger plans tend to go to the bundle?
Well, that is the question of the day. Everyone wants to know that, and it surprises me oftentimes, because the larger plans, even though they typically have staffs, they usually have somebody that's had some experience, they also tend to be the ones that have the majority of the issues, and they're always looking for somebody. Well, they're more complex, right? That's exactly right. And so the larger record keepers that do administration, they're more interested in the assets than the administration, but they do the administration to keep it simple and maybe to make it more efficient for them. As administrators, one thing that people often forget is we don't care what the assets are. If you're a $50 million plan versus a $10 million plan, we don't care. It's about the participants, it's about the administration, the compliance, those types of things.
And so, do you have some larger plans?
We do, yeah. Absolutely.
And so, what are the difference between what you do for a larger plan client than a smaller?
You know, there is no real difference. Sometimes the larger plans require us to provide, maybe a little bit more assistance on the administration going into the year, helping them collect data because they have so much of it, and we just try to rebuild certain processes or efficiencies to try to extrapolate the data from payroll and those kinds of things.
And maybe their plan is more complex. They have different types of plans for the executives.
Yeah, it's interesting because the larger plans tend, a lot of them are very vanilla. They don't get as complex in terms of the design, but they're more complicated because maybe they have differing eligibility provisions or different divisions of the company, or like you said, maybe there's certain things they're doing, like non-qualified deferred compensation for some and excluding highly compensated employees for the retirement plan, but having a non-qual plan for them. So there's those types of complexities, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same.
And so, final question: do all record keepers work with TPAs?
Not all of them, but for the most part, the trend is growing rapidly, and for the most part, the larger ones, the ones that are more often doing the business in these market spaces, are in fact doing.
So if a plan sponsor wants to work with a TPA and they don't have one, they have to ask their record keeper, and then if they don't, if that record keeper is strictly bundled, they would have to switch.
That's right. That's right. And I think it'd be hard to find one that doesn't work with a TPA these days, but that would be the approach.
I think there's a large one in Boston that's we won't name them, that has a lot of mutual funds.
Yeah.
That
wasn't sure if I could bring that up, but yeah.
We won't name that, but not that there's anything wrong with that.
No.
Okay. Well, thanks for your time today, Joe.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching 401k TV, is sponsored by NIPA, and support your local TPA.